Good morning everybody, Kingbrown here, and I'm just about to cook myself up some breakfast, and it's been a very cold night here, I can tell you. I'm at Secret Spot X up in Queensland, my Queensland headquarters, and camped in my camper trailer, and it was quite frosty early this morning. But the sun's up and shining right now, and I'm looking forward to cooking up a special dish for brekkie, or brunch it might be by now, and you're either going to love this dish or you're going to hate it. It's one of those sort of cuts of meat that's the opinion. You either love it or you hate it. So there's no in-betweens with it. But I'm going to be doing something different with it, and I'm going to be cooking it up with, well, I'll show you what it is first. This is what I'm going to be cooking. It's that nice big piece of lamb's fry, or liver, sheep's liver to be precise. The lamb's fry makes it sound a bit prettier, I suppose, but yeah, it's sheep's liver, and liver's very good for you, very tasty if you're into that sort of thing. Actually, I have it on good authority that it goes really well with fava beans and a nice Chianti. And bonus points if you get that reference. And anyway, today I'm going to do a recipe. I haven't done this recipe for at least 10 years, I reckon. And I've been meaning to do it for years because I remember it was delicious. The problem is I can't really remember the recipe and what I did to make it so good. But roughly I got an idea. And so I'm going to try and replicate it anyway. And I'm sure it'll be quite tasty. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to dice this up into fairly big chunks. And I've got some bacon down in here as well. Just some bacon I've chopped up. Going to brown off some bacon. I've got some mushrooms here. I'm going to brown off some mushrooms. And the liver, brown off the liver. And then that's all in there browned off into the camp oven floor. And there'll be nice little flavours and things going on in that. So then I'm going to deglaze that with a bit of grape juice, a bit of tawny port, and to be specific, it's a Brown Brothers tawny port. Now, if you like wines, and I'm not a big wine drinker, I'm not a big port drinker, I rarely ever drink anything like that, but I can guarantee you, Brown Brothers is the gun. There's no question about it. They just do a really nice drop, whatever they do. And it's pretty good price too. You know, it's like under 20 bucks for this bottle. I was pretty happy with that. And so we're going to deglaze the pan with the Brown Brothers tawny port, and that'll lift up all those juices and of the bacon and the liver and the mushrooms. And then I'm going to add some Western Star cream and make a beautiful cream sauce with all that flavouring into it. And I'm going to simmer that for a little while. Oh, I forgot, I've actually got some fresh thyme here from the garden, and I'm just going to throw a few branches of that in there as well, just to add a little touch. I was thinking about putting a bit of garlic in there, but I think I'll just give the garlic a miss. And basically I'm just going to brown everything off in my Western Star butter, of course, because that's good for browning and it's very healthy, good for you. And brown off those pieces and simmer it for a while, and voila, beautiful brekkie coming up. Can't wait to see it. Okay, now I don't know if you can see the smoke coming out of that camp oven floor, but it is roaring hot at the moment, and that's exactly what I want. Because as soon as I put anything in there, it's going to add, it's going to do two things. It's going to pull the temperature of the floor down, and it's going to create liquid in the meat. So I want that liquid to evaporate fairly quickly, otherwise I'll end up stewing, and I don't want to stew, I want to brown. So I deliberately have made it very hot. And anyone that's been to my shows and seen how I work camp ovens with their temperatures, for you guys that understand what I'm talking about in the language, yeah, I've made it too bloody hot. And I've done that on purpose. Okay, so what I'm going to do first, I'm going to actually give that a quick spray with some oil, and it'll smoke like mad probably, but I don't want to drop butter straight on there. I'll just spray a bit of oil on there first. Look at that smoke up. Oh yeah. No worries. Alright, that's heaps. And I want to get some butter going in there now. Good lump of butter. There we go. Listen to that sizzle. Oh, sizzling and a bit of smoke. But as soon as I drop everything in, that temperature will get cooled down. So it is definitely not too hot. Now I'm just going to add the bacon in one side. And I'm just going to add the liver on another side. That butter's starting to burn a little bit, but that's okay. I'm not panicking. Look at that. That's what we want to see. It's hitting the floor and it's getting colour. Straight up it's getting colour. Fantastic. Alright. So I'm just going to leave that over on one side, all that meat mixed together. That's looking fantastic. There's no liquid in there, so it's not stewing. It's doing what it's supposed to do. I'm just going to strip off some of the thyme leaves and sprinkle a bit of that in there. Oh, that smells wonderful. The aroma's coming out of that are pretty damn good, I can tell you now. Yeah, that's probably an overkill, but anyway. And I'm going to put some mushrooms on the other side. And I might just throw a bit more butter in with them. Plenty of mushrooms. Spread them out. I'm going to whack another dob of butter on top of those mushrooms. And get them bloody stewing in a bit. See, that temperature's dropped in that floor of that oven already. Alright, I might just change positions here. Okay, I'm just going to turn it over. I want to get nice browned off edges. And you really need to cook this pretty quick. Try and get some colour on these mushrooms. The mushrooms are stewing a little bit. Not too bad, not too bad. Alright, I've just got to let that run for a few minutes. 5 minutes later, I've got a lovely big heap of heat underneath there. It looks fantastic already. I'm pretty hungry too. I feel like just getting some out, hooking into it right now, but be patient, Ronnie, be patient. It's coming. Now that should start to build up temperature again. It's pulled down in temperature a little bit. It's still bubbling quite hard, but it hasn't got that mad sizzle it had there a minute ago. So I actually want it to come up in temperature a bit higher, and with a couple of more minutes, and we'll achieve that, I'm sure. I want to get a nice hard fry on those mushrooms because they get a bit soupy too, and we don't want the soupiness. We don't want to be stewing. We want to be frying that off. Probably I put a bit too much butter in there, but you know, it's all good. It'll add some flavour. Butter's really good for you, very healthy. Don't believe what they say. Throw away all your margarine, I'm telling you now. Throw it away, it is bad for you. Butter is made from cow's milk, and that's good. It's full of healthy fats and nutrition. And of course it tastes wonderful too. There's a mile of coals under here. There's no doubt about it. That oven was roaring hot. But it's funny how they work. They pull themselves down in temperature pretty quick. And you know, I have people saying to me about, oh, I'm going to use my camp oven for cooking fish and chips. I'm going to fill it up with oil and boil it. Well, I tell you, it can be done, but it's pretty hard to get oil that hot of any depth in a camp oven. It's not an easy thing to do, really. I know you can do it. Don't go slaying me in the comments going, oh, I do that. I know you can, but I'm saying you've got to work at it pretty hard to get a camp oven hot when it's got a heap of oil in it. Well, that liquid is reduced. You can see a bit of steam coming out there now. Those mushies are got a bit of colour on them. I probably went a bit hard on the butter. I would have liked a bit more. but they're not too bad. Mix the whole lot in, have a look. It smells absolutely delightful. Yeah, I think we're just about ready for stage 2. Very, very close. Alright, well that's mixed in pretty well. Got some colour on my mushies. Meats are browned up nicely. I added a little bit too much butter. I should have only put that one knob in there. I realise that now. But mushrooms can soak it up a bit. So it's still a little bit buttery in there. But I'm going to go with that. I'm going to add some port now. Nice good swig of port. And we'll let that come up to the boil. And I'll use that just to deglaze any flavours that are in there. Look at that, it's bubbling straight away. That's great. That's great. You need to have your camp oven hot for this. I can't stress that enough. You've got to have it very, very hot. And we're just going to let that cook off for a minute or two. No real rush. I always say, time is your friend. When your camp oven cooking, you can't be in too much of a rush. Alright, I'm just going to let that steam out now for about 3 or 4 minutes, I think. If that, 2 or 3 minutes. A few minutes later. Okay, well that's been simmering now for 3 or 4 minutes, and it hasn't dropped in temperature. It's still simmering along quite nicely. Yeah, that looks wonderful. Oh, this is going to be so good. Alright, now to build on that sauce, we'll add our cream. We might give that a shake first. Now another little alternative you can do with this is you can add sour cream, and basically you're making a lamb's fry, mushroom and bacon stroganoff. Nice little twist. You'd probably do that and have it with some mashed potato for dinner, but this is a breakfast dish, so. And of course port makes a great drink for breakfast, doesn't it? We all know that, hey? Port's always the go-to fisherman's breakfast, I reckon. Oh, look at that. I'm just going to add little bits of that cream at a time. I want to add it. I use the colour of the dish to tell me when I've got the ratio right. And I don't want it too white, obviously, and I don't want it to be very brown. So I sort of want a mild brown. And the cream is going to thicken up while it's boiling. I'm just going to rotate this oven a little bit in case it's a bit hotter on one side. It's bubbling fairly evenly, actually. I'm pretty happy with that. And yeah, the temperature's coming up again. That's great. Need to keep the temperature high for this dish. And look at the colour on that one. That's some nice, beautiful bits of brown on them. This is going really good. Now you don't need to put your lid on to cook this dish. You can cook it as an open dish. In fact, I recommend doing that, and that way you can steam out any waters that's in with your creams or comes out of your meat. And you can see that steaming out. That's what we want. What will be left will be a nice, thick, very, very tasty cream. I'm not playing with it much. I wanted to actually let the bubbles do the work. Just test it and make sure there's nothing sticking. Other than that, I'm quite happy just to let it go. Alright, I'm just going to give that a couple of minutes, and we'll come back and we'll serve him up and see what it tastes like. Might have to look for a volunteer, just in case, you know. A little while later, Now I've got myself an upside down paper plate. It's a cardboard one to sit me hot camp up and on the table here. And as you can see, I've brought out the finest of cutlery and with the paper plates. And oh jingos, I haven't got anything to dish it out with. I better go find something to dish it out with first. Okay, that looks fairly good. And, I couldn't find a spoon, so I've got the old bushman spoon here, and I'll use that to gather some up and put on my flash cutlery over it. We've got a couple each here. Beef, bacon, mushrooms. Oh, look at all that. How good's that? Oh, there's more sauce in there coming up. Make it as creamy as you like. Oh well, looks like the dog gets fed. I just dropped a piece. She's been hanging around all morning waiting for me to do that. Anyway, that's all good. She's got to eat too. Well, okay. I guess now we better have a bit of a taste. I better find a guinea pig first to have a taste before I do it, and make sure it's safe to eat.
I'm going to start drooling on myself here in a minute.